If you want to preserve democracy as we know it, you have to have a free and many times adversarial press. And without it, I'm afraid that we would lose so much of our individual liberties over time. That's how dictators get started.
Arizona Republican Senior Senator John McCain implying President Trump could be a dictator in the making with that soundbite. Did he go a little too far? Well, one of our guests says yes, the other no. Here to debate, we got Republican New York State Assemblyman and retired Marine Corps infantryman Kieran Lalor and retired Marine Corps Captain Katie Horgan. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Morning.
All right, Katie, let's start with you. What did you think of John McCain right there in a soundbite comparing essentially Donald Trump to a dictator?
I don't think he was necessarily comparing him to a dictator.
They're in the same soundbite.
Yes, and I think that we can definitely be taken out of context. I think what he's trying to do is warn us. He's pointing out things that have happened throughout history. He obviously thinks free press is very important. And so he's doing his piece as an elected official and standing up behind that. And he's correct. It is an important part of our democracy.
What do you think?
Well, it's interesting to call Trump a dictator, you know, with the travel ban and the Ninth Circuit striking down the travel ban. Trump has disagreed vehemently with the decision, but he has respected our separation of powers and our checks and balances system, which shows you he has respect for our system. He's not going to overstep the bounds. And I think McCain is a bad spokesman for the First Amendment. You know, the bill most associated with John McCain is McCain-Feingold eviscerated the First Amendment for regular people. You couldn't run a commercial saying the name of a candidate 60 days before an election, and the Supreme Court struck it down as a violation of the First Amendment.
Katie, do you think John McCain is still steamed that Donald Trump a couple of years ago referred to in that Frank Luntz event said, you know, I like guys who weren't captured? Do you think he's still stinging from that a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I think he's, well, like we were talking about before this started, I think he's been through a lot, and that's not the kind of thing that would rile him up. I think he's standing up for what he believes in because there's a sense of uncertainty that's been put forth by the president's rhetoric. I mean, he's saying things that are inconsistent with what his team is doing and saying things that are inconsistent with existing U.S. policy. There doesn't appear to be a lot of strategic direction.
But John McCain also said before the election, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. And, of course, famously, John McCain is a Republican.
This is true, but you don't have to vote along party lines, and I respect, you know, someone standing up and saying what it is they believe in.
Kieran?
Well, it's interesting because McCain was known as the maverick who took down his own party, but now he's the embodiment of the Republican establishment, and he's been way out-mavericked by Trump.
On Friday, John McCain was in Munich, and he was referring to the administration. Katie, touching on what you just mentioned, saying things are not quite as tidy as he would like. Listen.
I think that the Flynn issue obviously is something that shows that in many respects this administration is in disarray and they've got a lot of work to do.
In disarray, and they have a lot of work to do. Do you agree with that?
Listen, Trump is taking fire from all sides, Republicans, Democrats, the press. He took on the whole system. There's going to be some ups and downs and some bumps and bruises, but he's sticking to his promises. I think the core Trump supporters will stay behind him, and we have a lot of time left.
Yeah, Katie, you had mentioned earlier that you thought things were in disarray. Do you think the press has been fair to Donald Trump?
Well, that's a subjective question. I think that they have a responsibility to question.
Let me ask you this way then. Do you think the press is harder on Donald Trump than they were on Barack Obama?
I think that's yes, but I think he's also created the conditions. Donald Trump has created the conditions for that. I mean, he's argumentative. He attacks people in press conferences, on Twitter, etc. So he should expect the same response in kind.
All right. Katie and Kieran, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thank you.